Hello, hello, hello. Hooligan Soccer Podcast coming at you with myself, Gary Striker, and the Qooligan. Good afternoon, Qooligan. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good because it's not afternoon where I am, but I appreciate the sentiment.
Five minutes to go. 5 minutes to go on your side.
5 minutes to go, and then I shall join you in the afternoon.
Join me in the afternoon.
Yes.
Well, speaking of joining me, as you can see, we are both sporting these new Hooligan Soccer merch outfits that we've started releasing and started dropping. And surprisingly, we've had some avid listeners and fans coming in and start acquiring them as well. So thank you very much for that.
And
we've just
don't be left out. I mean, I know it's not Christmas, but
treat yourself or someone
Purim
else.
is coming up. We're in the middle of Ramadan. And Holy is next week.
Is Holy's coming up? Oh wow, okay, and then Easter a few weeks after that as well. So no excuses for holiday gifts.
And Easter, I guess. Yeah, seems to be a long ways away, but yeah,
it will come quickly. Wonderful. Well, Qooligan, we are covering a special Premier League game week because it is a double fixture week.
Yet another
week where there are games all ranging from this weekend and then obviously Tuesday, Wednesday, and it looks like on Thursday as well.
Actually, there's a game. There is a game tomorrow.
There's a game tomorrow, yeah. So Friday to Thursday,
Wolverhampton Villa. Right. Yeah. So from Friday the 27th through Thursday the 5th. Yeah, there will be a pair of games for every Premier League team.
Fun. This is exciting, getting into the business end of the season. So as always, hooligan-soccer.com is where you can go and get the musings, the insights. We have scaled up and got a hell of a lot more creators and writers and journalists churning out a lot more content. It's really leveled up. It's really great to see. I know, Qooligan, you are certainly very busy with your quill and quill and your scribe, publishing and dancing, doing all these wonderful dances. So yeah, but go and check out on Hooligan-Soccer, the merch store as well, and give us a shout out, and please don't be afraid to give us any feedback. It is a gift. Okay, let's get into, technically it's match week round 28.
28 and 29. It'll be both.
28 and 29,
right?
Yeah.
So 28 and 29 in a tight 5 days.
It is a lot. So
6
let's
days.
kick off. Let's start with Liverpool against West Ham. And I think part of the reason why we wanted to choose this one is because, as you were discussing just beforehand, there are two core narratives left in the Premier League, which is who takes their third relegation spots and can Arsenal hold on? And if we want to extend that just a little bit at the top half, is who gets inside the top 5, potentially 6 for the Champions League. But I think the real question is here, can Arsenal hold on here and not shoot themselves in the foot and throw it away, as they seem to have a bit of a reputation, a trend for
that's your positivist. That's your positivist angle.
Positivist?
And then, of course, but I'm far more. Yeah, I mean that's because that if winning the league is a good thing. I'm more interested in tracking the negativist angle, which is who's going to get that third relegation spot. I find that to be a far more intriguing narrative because the first one relies on somebody making a mistake. I mean, let's be fair. It all relies on somebody making a mistake somewhere, but the first only has 2 possible outcomes. You've really only got Arsenal and City. There is no realistic world in which Villa, Chelsea, Liverpool, or any of these teams somehow make it up to the top. That would require a collapse that I think even Arsenal would not be able to pull off. I mean, we all know how Arsenal likes to bottle it, but I don't think they're capable of that much error. So that's a good story. You want to look at it. You want to track it. It's fine. And I also think there's far too many games left to really look at the top 4, top 5, because that's going to change week over week as people come up and grow or slip, and depending on how many red cards Chelsea gets. So, it's 2 away from the record.
It's
11 games left, 2 away from the record. Come on, they can do it.
At this rate, they probably will get that record. Yes, they probably will. Just positivist? Is that an actual word, or are we just making up words?
Yeah.
That is an actual word. Are we?
No. It's a living language, Gary.
Okay.
So we're allowed to stretch the norm. No, I think positivism is a thing, and positivist is a person who practices positivism, and that would be me on certain days.
Okay, well, that's
you can also just say optimistic.
another way. Yep,
but
that's
yes. But I do think that the relegation battle is really, that is really one of the juiciest ones we have, because there are some storied clubs that are in that relegation scrap zone, right?
Yeah. Well, let's get into it then. So yeah, we'll look at the first one, which intrigues us, is Liverpool West Ham, for that exact reason. Not if Liverpool, who are probably going to be they're still 5 points clear of Brentford, that may get trimmed a little bit due to some form, particularly when the Champions League comes in. But if West Ham get something out of that, either 1 or 3 points, it just sucks in Spurs and Forest into that sort of 18th spot and that third spot, which is, I think, where we're sort of kind of looking at and considering. And if you look at the form guide, West Ham have, over the last 3 games in particular, the best form compared to Forest and Spurs. Spurs obviously having lost all 3 of those. Forest lost 2 of those, whereas West Ham have won and drawn 2. So they are kind of technically unbeaten in the last 3.
And then before that loss to Chelsea, they had won 3 in a row. Now, mind you, one of those was an FA Cup tie, but still, it's a good. I mean, you're right. They're in a good run of form. Nuno finally seems to have quote figured it out, maybe, or at least inspired his team enough to get them to react. They are still, because they're currently in 18th place, they have the biggest hill to climb. But their form and their and in watching them, I think they very well could pull themselves out of that basement, thereby shoving somebody else back in. And that's the big question: is who will be sacrificed upon the altar of West Ham survival? I don't know. It's a good question.
If you had to pick one to go down now, do you pick them? Who would you pick? And would you pick them just because of sort of club rivalry, or because it feels a little bit strange? I mean, look, as a Chelsea fan, I would love to, again, there's some Schadenfreude here as well. I would say Spurs, but also at the same time, Spurs are such a big club, and so they have been obviously sort of, so significant, obviously, in sort of, just in sort of my sort of formative, when I say formative, all of my years of watching this beautiful sport, is like, it would just be really strange to see them go down. And I was listening to an episode on the Business of Sport, another podcast as well, which I really enjoyed. And they were basically breaking down how much, basically, because Spurs are basically sort of are considered part of the top 6, they have astronomical revenues, and those would be cut in half if they were to get relegated, and just how it would decimate them, and then they'd be really susceptible to all these PSR rules and further regulation, like Leicester City are about to sort of get relegated because they're about to get hammered because they're in administration. So part of it, like, I wouldn't want to see Spurs burn down completely, but it would be interesting to see them get relegated at the same time. That was a very long-winded way of answering my own question. I appreciate. But yeah, your turn now.
I have a much shorter answer. Spurs. I don't need the explanation. I just need to say Spurs, and that should usually suffice to end the debate. No, they are big. They're and there is a part of me that says no club is ever too big to fail. Should never be too big to fail. Yes, it would be devastating for the supporters, for the club, for everything. But I also think that if a club that big suffers a setback like this and then completely dissolves and disintegrates, were they ever really that great to begin with?
Well, this is fair.
That's a big question, and I hope that that's not a question that we have to ask ourselves a year from now if we're looking at an implosion, in Tottenham. So
they finished the same position last season as well. So this is two
They
consecutive seasons for 17th, I think it was, or 16th, one of the two. Them or Man United, I can't remember exactly. But yes, it's a trend here, right? There is a real trend, and it's, as you say, no team is big enough to not go down, right? That's the rules of gravity.
That's the way it should be. Absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so looking at this one, I mean, you've got to say that the prevailing wind is, well, again, West Ham, Liverpool, and how it impacts them. You'd think that Liverpool would probably have the upper hand. The form guide is on their favour. They have the home field advantage.
Yeah, it has to be. It has to.
They didn't play a Champions League game, so they're fresh and they're ready. So that there should be no excuses here for Arne Slot and his boys.
And listen, it was an ugly game last weekend. The Liverpool game, but they won. So, again, the great teams find ways, and Liverpool found a way. It took them a lot of ways and a lot of VAR, both going against them and for them. But Alexis McAllister was not to be denied. He was going to get a goal come hell or high water. It didn't matter how many people he had to push over or how many offsides or whatever it was that ruled him. And yeah, in a universe where you like West Ham and you want to see them survive, a win obviously is what you want. I could see a draw happening, and I absolutely could see a draw coming in. And
makes them that bit closer to Spurs, doesn't it? It makes them that bit closer. If even a draw is a good result for West Ham. Here.
Yeah, but then let's also look at this. Liverpool's at home, and while Anfield hasn't been the fortress that it has been in the past, I don't think Liverpool's going to drop points at home against this team. I really don't. It's I think it could be close. I think it might be nervy. There might be a lot of angst and a lot of hearts and mouths. But I do think Liverpool is going to win, and thereby grant a bit of reprieve to the teams that are sitting, just above them, in 17th through 15th.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now, let's move on to
looking ahead. West Ham then plays another fixture against a fellow London rival in Fulham. Now that one becomes a lot more interesting because while Fulham they are safe. Right. So now we start getting into the psychology of safety. Right. So you're safe. Good for you. What are you doing now? They're out of all the other competitions. There's nothing else for them to play for, except maybe keeping their manager around for another season. Well, that would be the one for him. That's certainly something. Making impressions for your nation for World Cup. You think Raul Jimenez isn't interested in scoring? Bet your ass he is. He's got a couple of young kids sitting on he's got a couple of young kids sitting in the wings, right? Bertarame, Gonzalez. He's got some young people breathing down his neck to be the number one for Mexico.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's inspired. Absolutely 100% inspired to go and do things. So yeah. What happens there? I think that's a far more winnable game for West Ham. And I do think even though they're on the road, they have to go into Craven Cottage. You could see West Ham, particularly if they suffer some kind of, I don't want to say embarrassing loss, but like if they fight the way they've been fighting, but they just fall short, they're going to be doubly inspired against Fulham. So I think Fulham is in a greater danger of succumbing to West Ham than Liverpool is. I think Liverpool will get the job done, but I think Fulham could fall.
Yeah. Imagine this. No. I don't disagree with any of your perspectives. Here's a crazy thought. Imagine if West Ham pull off a shock result and then go and beat Fulham as well against Liverpool. You
mean win 2?
Yeah. Imagine if
it's going to be a dark day.
Unlikely.
Then there's two teams that are going to like crap themselves.
Forest and Spurs,
right?
And
Spurs.
Yeah.
Forest and Spurs.
Yeah. And then depending on the other
possibly,
results. No.
And because they're not, they're in a better position, but they're not out of the woods. Leeds.
Exactly.
Right. Leeds is always 2 games away from some kind of trouble. So
yeah. Anyway, just spitballing and just throwing out. Not impossible. You do see some of those surprise results should have shocked you and turn up as well. Okay. let's move on. So you just mentioned Leeds, obviously they're in a relegation scrap. They're playing Man City over the weekend as well. And Man City, just looking at it, have over the last 5 games, the joint best form over the last 5 games in the Premier League with their neighbours, with the other Manchester team, United, which again, I can't believe I'm saying this as well, which is shocking how amazingly well they've turned around.
Well, you are aware that United hasn't lost a game in 2026.
I know this is
they're undefeated.
Yes,
in 2026, the only Premier League team to have accomplished that feat. Now they have a lot of draws, but still,
doesn't matter. That's fourth place.
That is damned impressive.
4th place, and all of a sudden the players are looking good and everyone's cooking. But we're focusing on Leeds, Man City here. Again, you'd think that
I don't see Leeds pulling this one out. I really don't. No, and it's not a disrespect to Leeds. I love watching Leeds play. They are they're exciting. They're fun. But no, even though they're at home, I don't see. I think Man City will be perfectly capable of dispatching them without much trouble.
And now remember this: Man City still have a game in hand on Arsenal as well, because Arsenal played that extra fixture.
Because this is effectively a double, right? This is a big game for both of our, for both our positivist and our negativist outlooks. Because for Leeds, a loss moves them closer to the drop zone. For City, a win puts them closer to Arsenal, right? So this is a huge game.
Yeah,
and it's a good reason that it's occupying, the primetime spot, right? It's the late game on Saturday, so and it should be a doozy. And Pep knows it, and all the players know it. So City will be up; they'll be up for it. Tails will be up. They will be from the get-go ready to absolutely rip into Leeds. And given the fact that both teams love to play, aggressive, pressing, counterattacking football, it could be super exciting for the fan. This could be one of these things where 5-6 goals could be scored, right? And it would just be an absolute thrill fest.
It would be. Here's a crazy statistic for you that I saw, is that in the duration of Mikel Arteta being the manager of Arsenal have spent more days in first place in the Premier League than Manchester City have in that same time period. Yet Manchester City have won more trophies from it. Crazy
a word
statistic.
For that, Aaron. You know what that word is?
Who gives a fuck?
No, that would be 3 words. Because I don't count an article as a word. But
as we're messing words, I'm mixing bottle. Bottle, wobble,
Sorry.
bottle.
It's the only possible way to describe that. You want a definition of bottle? There it is. It's right there. Bottle in the dictionary, right there. Arsenal have spent more days in first place and have fewer trophies than Man City. There's your definition.
There you go. Yeah. So I think that will be, that was an interesting one. And then this whole 115 charges narrative is sort of sprung back up. I know you roll your eyes. We all roll our eyes because everyone's like, what the hell is going on? And this is going to get cut different ways. And then the other thing I keep saying, again, maybe it's just my algorithm, maybe it's just sort of, just getting pounded in a way, is that Pep also is pushing because this is going to be his last season. I know there's rumors out there. We'll see. But
that rumor has been floating around all season, a long time. Season. My personal opinion is that it's true.
He's got to come to an end sometime.
I do think he goes. Listen, he's lost his marriage. Right. He lost his marriage. He's still got his reputation. He never had any hair, so that was no problem. But there comes a time where you just have to say basta. And I think he's finally there where he's like, I could just use some time off.
I'm sure
and I could take a nice cushy position like
exactly.
Jurgen. I'm just going to go and run some. I mean, and don't be surprised if you see him working within the City Group, right? There's 12 clubs globally.
Yeah.
He just spends his time in a nice little private jet, bouncing around, going and checking out Melbourne. Beautiful, right? Goes checks out one of the Indian clubs they've got,
Yeah, New York as well.
Curry.
Spend a year in New York as well, in between, I believe, with Barcelona as well. So he loves it there. So go and do that. Yeah. Or he's probably looking at Carlo Ancelotti as well. Obviously, I don't know if you saw some of those clips of Ancelotti in Carnival that just happened as well, where he's drinking beer with Ronaldo.
But I mean, I don't think Ancelotti is all good and well, but if Brazil don't do well in the World Cup, he's gone.
He's toast. Yeah, that's
he's
fine.
gone,
I think
and he's gonna have that pressure.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You're looking at a guy sitting there smoking a big cigar and he's dancing around and he's smiling and all that. Well, one, he's drunk. Two,
he's
that's a person who's dealing with the pressure of his day-to-day life because there's going to be pressure there, and this is the time where you blow it off.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah. Exactly.
No, I don't know. I don't think Pep takes a national job anytime soon. Right.
Well, we'll see.
But
okay. Well, anyway, back to the point at hand. Yeah, but City should sort of probably get through this. City then are also, incidentally, they're playing Leeds in this sort of first round, and then the second game week, or the second sort of double, is then they are hosting Nottingham Forest. So they're basically fighting 14th and 17th.
Yeah.
It's, again, these will not be easy games. There never are any easy games as well. Again, they cannot afford to, as they're hunting down Arsenal, they cannot afford any slip-ups. But you can see, I don't know, you can, again, that City defense has been a little bit unstable as we've noticed. And I know despite the reinforcements in either Gahey and Donnarumma coming in and some of their injuries as well. But yeah, that will be an interesting one to see as well, for sure.
Again, Forest looked very good against Liverpool, right? They did. And the 0-0 draw would have been a ridiculously fair result, in my opinion. So I wouldn't say that Forest is. I wouldn't say they're much of a pushover on this one, right? I think they're going to give City more. They should give City more resistance, and should be a bigger challenge for City. That said, they're also woefully inconsistent. So you never know. You never know which one you're going to get.
Yeah, right? You don't know which one you're going to get. Yeah. And so that means, obviously, while we're still speaking Forest, they are hosted by Brighton. So they always have to go down to the south of England as well to play Brighton. And we're talking about, Brighton safe on one hand, but perform has really fallen off a cliff the last 5 games. They've only won 1 in the last 5. And so Brighton, you can get at them, right? They can probably, not that Forest have got huge amounts to go for, but again, this is like last push. You can get there and you can make it happen. So I don't know.
Hurlitzer is fighting, but here's the thing: Hurlitzer's fighting for his job. He's, in my opinion, he's the next manager who's kind of in the crosshairs. I mean, we all know Glasner's in the crosshairs because he can't keep his mouth shut, and he's dead man walking anyway. So it's like if they fired him now. The only reason they're not firing him is because he's got a $2 million parachute on his back.
Yeah.
Right. If they just hang out long enough, eventually,
he's going.
The parachute goes away and he falls to earth, and they don't have to spend the money. But Hurlitzer's he wants to keep his position. He wants to keep his reputation. So, I'd say Brighton are. Yeah, they have been bad. Which is also somewhat unusual because they're better than this typically. So yeah, I would pick Brighton on this one if you had forced me to choose, I'd be like, no, I think Brighton will do it.
Brighton Forest. The only challenge that they have is then on that sort of midweek game, then they've got Arsenal. They're hosting Arsenal. So the 2 home games, but one is Forest and one is Arsenal. So 2 very different sort of types of opponents. So there's a world here where they don't pick up a single point in these next 2 games.
Again, I could see, with Arsenal though, they went up to Wolverhampton, completely crapped the bed. There's no reason why. It's no reason why when them going down to Brighton, they couldn't do the same. No, I think having 2 games at home in a short period of time is a boon to a club like Brighton. This is a good thing for them, right? Yeah. So, and with some time in between for rest, for recovery, Brighton and Hurlitzer have been they're working on plans. They will be very prepared. And I would not want to be any club trying to walk into the Amex and thinking you're going to have an easy time.
Yeah, it won't happen. That's for sure. That's for sure. Okay, and then speaking of, we've mentioned. I feel like we've mentioned Fulham a hell of a lot already as well. But obviously they'll be hosting Spurs. Yeah, they're going to be hosting Spurs, and I know we touched on Spurs.
They're
obviously.
the spoiler. They're the team that can, they're the team that can ruin everybody's day, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and why not? I mean, they're just so middle. They're so middling, right? They sit in the middle. They play like they're in the middle. Sometimes they're capable of brilliant flashes of everything. Sometimes they're capable of incredible defensive resilience. Sometimes they're porous as Swiss cheese. Yeah, that's Fulham. So you've got two struggling teams coming in to Craven Cottage, right?
Yeah.
Tottenham and West Ham, in that order. And I could absolutely see Fulham getting 2 out of this, but I also think West Ham's, like as I said before, West Ham will have so much more at stake, so they'll be bringing it to Fulham. And Tottenham, ooh, dude, listen, Tudor did not have a good, right?
Well, his first game.
Tudor was Forest.
Yeah.
Pereira was Tottenham. God, I always get those two mixed up. That's terrible.
Wait, you're talking about the Tottenham manager, Igor Pereira, right? Is that who it is?
That's correct. And Igor Tudor is Forest. Because
yes. No. Igor Tudor is Tottenham's
Igor
interim head coach.
No, okay,
yes.
I did have it right. Never mind.
Yes,
Igor Tudor is Hotspur, right?
Yes.
Thank you. God, sorry. Apologies, people. I should have this shit together, and I don't. Igor Tudor had a horrible, horrible day, right? That first
What else was he expect? Did he really think he was going to go in there and get the bounce?
No. But it wasn't even so much the fact that he just got his ass handed to him by Arsenal. That's a different story, right? We knew the North London derby was. I mean, if you're going to start off and take a coaching job, look at your schedule first and make sure that you don't have something like the North London derby.
Delay the negotiations. Yeah, exactly. Let the caretaker take that one. Yeah.
Just be like, geez, I got to go and get a root canal. I'm sorry. It's not going to be possible. So, no. I mean, but it wasn't just that. It was also just the way in which they lost. The utter capitulation. There was all sorts of rage bait and an outrage, falsity on social media afterwards, talking about this, talking about that. But I do think there is a certain group within the Tottenham camp who are not happy with the fact that Thomas Frank left, because I think Frank as a person, as a coach, as a manager, as a manager, as a personnel manager, was well liked and respected. And maybe he didn't get the results that the board wanted, so they ousted him. That means that poor Tudor, who's not the cuddliest of men, right? And is only there on a short leash, right? He's going to have a really hard time winning over that locker room.
Yeah.
And I think it's not going to make what the Spurs have to do. It's not going to make their road any easier. For his sake and the sake of the club, I hope that some sort of miracle or some sort of big kumbaya moment happens.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, the one advantage I would say is obviously on the first game, with the first game week, obviously they're playing away to Fulham, which is fine. On the road, they seem to be okay. It's their home form that's the real problem. And then I think it's on the Wednesday. I think it is. They're playing your beloved Palace at White Hart Lane.
I mean, come on, listen. Every time Tottenham plays Palace, people fall asleep. Man, they got to they have to give stimulants to the crowd in order, before those games, because they're so dull.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, and that actually, I mean, I do think when it comes down to it, that Spurs Palace game is a big one, is even bigger to them than the Fulham one, because Palace, although they managed to get a win last weekend, which was merciful, and signs that there may be an intelligent higher power. I don't think they're out of the race. They're not out of the scrum yet. They need to get to 40. 40 is their magic number. If they get to 40, then we know they're safe, right? They're 35. They've got a cushion. And so with that cushion, I think as a team, Crystal Palace will start playing freer.
Yeah.
Now it's suddenly like, the burden has been lifted, right? That onus, that dark cloud that's been hovering over them is like, oh, there's a ray of sunshine. Great. I mean, they do have to play Manchester United on Sunday. That'll be a tough match, such a tough match, but they can go into that knowing that if they put up a good fight, if they keep it close, if they first, like say, draw, great, what a great result.
Yeah.
They're going to
4
come
points
into
off safety.
Spurs going, they're going to come
Yeah.
into Spurs going, dude, we're going to own you. You
Yeah,
are
exactly.
toast to us.
I mean, there's still there's 10 points difference between that third relegation spot and Palace. So again, I don't look at this and I don't have any concern that Palace will go down. It would take an absolutely biblical collapse of epic proportions, and I don't think that will happen.
I would normally say that, except guess what happened in the beginning of 2026?
Collapsed. The Crucible screwed them.
The seas parted,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The seas parted, the collapse happened, and
The
it was
stone
nearly
dropped
biblical.
like a stone.
The only thing that didn't happen was it didn't rain frogs.
Yeah.
All right. So
season's not over yet. Season is not over yet.
It's not over yet. No, there is no universe until we hit 40 points where I can sit back and breathe comfortably every time I see Crystal Palace in some. And let's not forget, Crystal Palace have to play. They're playing today. They're playing now.
Well, this was going to be sort of where I'm going with it. Can I ask, would it be a good season though if, for example, let's just say Palace finish 15th, 16th, 17th, they don't get relegated, they win the Europa Conference League, which they're in. That would be, and they walk away with another trophy. They win that European competition, which they're in, which is not impossible. It's if you look at the competition, I don't recognize many of the names in there.
Yeah, the Conference League is fairly,
Mickey. I mean, Chelsea strolled through West Ham. Even West Ham have won it as well a couple of seasons ago as well. So that kind of speaks to it.
They won the Europa League. That was different, but not the Conference League.
It wasn't the Conference
Europa
League.
League. They won the Europa League, not the Conference League.
Okay. All right. Okay. They could walk away with it. And if you're Oliver Glasner, you also walk away and say, well, look, I've he can walk away with another trophy as well. And Palace could, in theory, have 3 trophies in 2 seasons. Which...
I mean, and what an accomplishment that would be. It would be an incredible accomplishment. But it would come with an asterisk because of all of the other shenanigans that happen. Which, Palace is filled with controversy and foot and mouth moments, and is known sometimes for completely, bottling it. Not to steal a phrase from Arsenal, we don't do it nearly as bad as they do, but it would be successful. But at the same time, my whole point would be, great. So what? Right. We got 2 trophies. We got 2 trophies in 3 months, had an incredible start. We're flying high, and then, got shot.
Christmas blew up and
been plummeting.
Yeah.
So the fact that we were able to pull the eagle down, without losing a wing, great. It's, is it any better than some of the more comfortable seasons that we had? I don't know.
No,
I definitely in the sense of rewards, we finally have something in the trophy cabinet. But that's
it would, but also guarantee Europa League football next season as well. So there's also something else there. So it's a selling point to any new potential would-be managers who are going to come in or replace Glasner as well, which is something, right?
And I think, and from a revenue standpoint, it's good, and from a player standpoint and a retention standpoint, and being able to recruit is better, because they didn't do a good job of maximizing their summer recruitment, mainly because they were distracted by the Europa versus Conference League fracas that happened.
There was that, and then there was the whole does he go, doesn't he go? And it would have been better to get him out and take the money and replace him and make a good replacement rather than what they did. But
but it's hindsight is always 20/20, and
of course
we'll just have to wait and see. But you say they're not in a relegation scrap. I still think it's there. I still think that specter is there. And while they now have a bigger cushion, if they drop these next 2 games, they're right back in it.
Yep.
Especially since losing to a team like Spurs is a 6-pointer. It's a flip, right?
Yeah.
So no, this is not. It is not over.
We'll see how it is. We'll see how it shakes out. Okay, and then just rounding off, just as we're coming up on time as well. So we've got then obviously the west side of London. Chelsea are going to the north side in Arsenal. That's obviously Sunday's big match.
Good game.
Yeah,
it's going to be a good game.
good game. This is, for me, I was just looking back at Liam Rosenior's record. He's unbeaten in the Premier League, but yet he has yet to come up with any real tough competition. He's had easy fixtures relatively in terms of like bottom half of the table. And even then, the last 2 weeks as well, drawing to Burnley, which was terrible, and then drawing to Leeds was not being good. So while they've sort of, turned over Wolves, turned over West Ham, turned over Palace, again, we've all been talking about these as relegation teams as well. This is the first real challenge. He's already played Arsenal twice, obviously having lost to them both in the Carabao Cup semi-finals. Maybe he's got something on and they learned something for here, but I'm not that confident here that Chelsea are going to be able to walk away with the result. I just don't feel like it's going to happen. And again, Arsenal do have that momentum. I know we've been talking about bottling and wobbles and all those kind of things, but I get the feeling that Arsenal will probably come away with 3 points here. I think a draw for Chelsea would be a good result, to be perfectly candid here.
I mean, I love it when you finally wake up and smell the Chelsea. It's just, it is so refreshing to me to hear you talk realistically about your side. I actually say I might be even more optimistic. What it will come down to for me is discipline. And I'm not just talking about cards, because there's always that risk that somebody in Chelsea is going to do something dumb and get a red.
Yeah.
But it's about discipline in all the other areas too, right? We know they struggle defensively. Can their attackers maintain enough discipline to just keep them above the water, to make sure that a defensive error won't sap the team, won't eliminate all the good work that they've done? Who knows, right? It's I agree with you. I think Arsenal probably walks away with this one. And then they play Villa. I mean, boy, talk about two tough fixtures. I mean, yikes. They got to travel to Arsenal, then they got to travel to Birmingham. Oy.
And Villa are going to be up for this one as well, because they are gunning down top four.
Well, because they have to still believe that there's a chance for them. And while it's a very slim chance, clinging to that belief should give them enough oomph to keep them in the Champions League zone, which is really and realistically where they're going for.
And I think that, and they will probably get there, because they're playing Wolves in the first game week. When I say first game week, they're playing Wolves this weekend.
Again,
should be an easy 3 points as well. So there's a world here. They'll go in there on the bounce and then sort of, rocking and rolling, and obviously having only lost one game in the last 5. There's a world here where Chelsea come out with 0 points in the next 2 games, and there's a whole bunch of other teams around them that have come up and sort of shot away from them. Chelsea all of a sudden find themselves in 5th, in 6th, or even maybe 7th place, which is not unrealistic.
Possible.
Yeah,
it's possible. I mean, you're talking about 7 teams up at the right. There's really 7 teams that are competing for those European spots. I don't think Brentford have the moxie to close the 5-point gap between Chelsea and Liverpool. I just don't think they have it.
And hold on for the remainder
I think
of the
they've
season.
already punched far above their weight in terms of their results right now.
Yeah.
If they were to finish in the top 10, my jaw would be on the floor. Seriously, that would be, and that coach would be gone. He's going to be plucked somewhere, because that would be an amazing accomplishment.
Yeah. So that's okay. Well, Qooligan, I think so we'll finish on that one. Chelsea it's going to be a tough couple of days for Chelsea as well. So hopefully all those images on the socials about them going to Dubai and having some time off, hopefully they come back refreshed and ready to rock and roll. But we shall see. Anyway, wonderful. Well, Qooligan, as always, thank you very much. Until next time, we'll be back. We're going to do an MLS wrap-up podcast probably early next week, as well as the season's kicking off and picking up there again. And then also as well, we can pre-tease this. There are plans for a World Cup show that we're going to be launching as well. So we're going to start sort of laying those down and putting them in the can as well. So as always, hooligan-soccer.com. Until then, thank you very much.
Peace.